It is a pleasure to be here today and registering this video for the General NPO conference of the year 2020 in Tokyo. Unfortunately, because of a coronavirus outbreak, it is not possible for me to come to Tokyo, a city that I enjoy very much and where I have many friends, and where I usually have very interesting conversations. Please allow me to come to this seminar in the form of this video. But we have to remember that while Japan is a powerhouse of democracy in that part of the world, China is still evolving and is not a democracy as we understand it. Therefore, what is a conundrum now? What are the issues now? The main issue, of course, is the stability, the internal stability of China. With lower growth, with the coronavirus outbreak, with a criticism growing against how the central government in Beijing handled the crisis, what is going to happen? Is it going to be business as usual? Is the Chinese leadership going to be forced to find a problem abroad in order to solve the problems inside? Is the world going to see an outbreak that will reduce economic activity everywhere, and that's going to affect China too? What's going to happen? No one knows. The true answer is that no one knows. But fear is growing, and fear is coming up and up into our veins, to our brains, and economists everywhere, they are forecasting disaster. Is that really going to happen? Well, up to now, even with the huge numbers of dead people, huge number of infected people in China, if we may believe those numbers, even then, the percentage of people that are involved is small. The worst thing that is happening is fear. The worst thing that could happen is fear fostering geopolitical tension. The outbreak will possibly spread to the rest of the world. What is the size of the impact? No one knows. Studying the patterns of the evolution of the illness, we see that most likely the window of opportunity for containment of the outbreak, which exists during the first phase of the outbreak, is almost gone. So we will have this thing spreading around the world. Perhaps, and that's only a guess, in warmer climates, the outbreak will be smaller. But no one knows. It could be bigger. In my country, Brazil, we haven't had any case up to the day I'm registering this video. But we are already preparing ourselves, as we may, to handle this problem. This is something that every country should do. If one looks at the outbreak, at the evolution of the outbreak outside of China, outside of the Hubei province, you get different pictures. The outbreak seems to be accelerating in those regions outside of Hubei, but not by so much. It's still a little bit early to say what's going to happen. On the other hand, the outbreak seems to have been contained in its growth rate in Hubei. We have to remember the proximity of Hubei to Beijing and all the consequences that this entails, because the government of China is probably less effective today than it was 3 months ago. So, we are at that point where we don't know much, except that it's going to be a difficult period. In the long run, well, the outbreak will pass. Geopolitical competition will resume. The problems are not solved. The tension between the United States and China and Japan in the South China Sea area remains, and a peaceful solution has to be found. This peaceful solution has to be built upon cooperation. Cooperation is a difficult thing when you're dealing with governments that have such a different nature. And it's also difficult when people have different views of the world. America sees itself as a shining light of democracy for the world. China sees itself as a middle kingdom. It's not a compatible thing. They will have to get more compatible in order to accept each other. So, this is what I intended to say. I believe that next year's conference will have much to talk, and I hope to be there. Thank you very much, and have a very good work today at Tokyo. Thank you.